All right. Thanks, everyone. If anyone has anything, just leave it in the comments. I cannot hear you all, but hopefully you can hear me, and we'll go ahead and get started. Awesome. Thank you, Kyla. Cool. All right. So yeah, thank you so much. So glad that you all were able to come join us today. So we're going to talk a little bit about data cloud. Good to see you too, Sarah. So we're going to talk about data cloud a little bit. We'll talk about education cloud, some of the things that we're doing with LSU online and continuing education. We'll walk through why we're using those particular products, kind of give you some insight there. And yeah, so we'll have some fun today. And if anybody has any questions, let me know. I'll answer them as best we can. All righty. Okay, so yeah, I am Brian Davis. I'm executive director for LSU Online and Continuing Education. So I have, believe it or not, over 2 decades of experience with software development, developing large-scale systems, a lot of it building from scratch. And I've been at LSU Online and Continuing Ed now for about 3 years, and we've been doing some pretty amazing things there. So I'm in charge of all kinds of transformation, not just on the Salesforce side, but anything tech related. And so we'll get into a little bit of what we're doing and focus on Salesforce today. All right. So at LSU Online and Continuing Ed, we provide essentially the online services for not only just our main campus, but we also have satellite campuses all around Louisiana. So there's like 4 or 5 different cities where there's another LSU campus. And we provide everything from our design and development, course design and development, from marketing to retention services, the whole 9 yards. And so we do that for our main campus in Baton Rouge. A lot of times when you hear LSU, that's what you think of there, Fighting Tigers of LSU in Baton Rouge. But again, we also service all of the campuses around the state. We not only provide degree programs, but we also have an executive education platform that we have, and so we provide certificates and folks that are looking to upskill and that whole 9 yards. We provide services there as well. For our degree students, we service a little over 11,000 students. Actually, this number needs to be updated. 11,000 students there total with the degree side. On the non-degree side, this year we'll have serviced over 30,000 students. So there's a lot of folks that are coming in through the pipeline. So yeah, we're graduating lots of folks. Folks are getting certificates. And we also partner with employers around the country because we offer our education services as benefits for other companies. Okay. All right. And throughout the years, we've been using Salesforce since about 2018. That's when we first started, and we've seen lots of success with Salesforce using it as a product. One of our main strategies has been for our staff, making sure that they can focus themselves on what they do best, which is caring for their students. And there are things that we have to do from a system standpoint and just from a day-to-day basis that isn't really too exciting, for everyone. We have to check all the boxes and get all the I's dotted and T's crossed from a business standpoint. And what we've done with Salesforce is we put a lot of automation in place so that whoever's working with the students don't have to worry about that so much. They can just focus on that student care aspect. And then a system with automations built in place can take care of the rest. And building that and lots of other things within Salesforce, we've broken all kind of internal records as far as admissions and enrollment and lots of good things. So there's lots of great things that's been happening since starting our Salesforce journey about 6 years ago. Now, with that particular journey and going through Salesforce, one of the things that I've experienced with Salesforce is that it can do a lot of things, right? That's one of the great things about it. It's so flexible. And one of the frustrating things is that it's so flexible, it can do anything, right? And so what we've done over the past 6 years or so is we found ourselves in a situation where we created this Frankenstein monster of a CRM, where the CRM really became everything. So Salesforce was not only the place to house our students, but it became a place to where we store all of our data. So that's where our warehouse is. All of our reporting needs, it was in Salesforce. Everything that the marketing department was in Salesforce. So we were using the one platform for a ton of things. And not only that, but we were also finding ourselves in a situation where we were using objects in Salesforce in ways that it was never meant to use. Some of it had to do with, in the beginning when we started, it really was very much like a startup environment in our department. So it was get it done as fast as you can, right? And some of it was we didn't have the expertise at the time, and we just didn't know. And as we matured our platform, we matured as well. And one of the big challenges that we found is that as we wanted to innovate, as different products became available on the market or different opportunities became available out in the market, in order to be able to scale and take advantage of those opportunities became very, very difficult. Because every time we work with a vendor or we work with a product and we let them know, hey, we have a Salesforce system, the very first thing that they told us, oh yeah, whatever capability that you need, our platform XYZ can do this for you, piece of cake. We can integrate directly with Salesforce. And my statement was always, you have never seen our Salesforce instance, right? And so once they got in and understood what it was like, they realized that, no, this is going to be a challenge, Brian. We can't do this as easily as we thought we could. So we found ourselves in the App Exchange, just really bringing in as many products that we have to kind of build out those capabilities, but it really wasn't a natural fit. And so we got to the point where we needed to make a change. And so one of the things that we were considering is going back to a standard version of EDA. So we were using EDA. And around that same time that we were thinking about going back to that right out of the box implementation of EDA, Salesforce made an announcement and said that Education Cloud was coming up. And so all of their advancements on the higher ed side, all the innovation around higher ed, it will be in the Education Cloud platform. So, and we'll talk a little bit more about that pretty soon. So we decided to go ahead and make the shift. Let's go ahead and cut ties now with the old environment. Let's just switch everything over to Education Cloud. And so that's what we're doing. We're actually going live in a couple of weeks. So we're very excited about that. All right. So as we mentioned, we're moving over to Education Cloud. One of the things that I'm very excited to see that Salesforce has done is they're taking a lot of the components that work really well in some of their other industries, and they're putting it into their core platform. I'll give you an example of that. In their healthcare space, there's a concept of a patient view. And those that are in the healthcare org that's using Salesforce, they have the ability to see a patient timeline from start to finish. So as soon as a patient is admitted into whatever environment that's using it, all the way to their discharge, you get a chance to see point in time what that patient's experience was, all the different things along that journey. And what they've done is they've taken that concept of the patient view timeline, put it into their core, rebranded it. And in Education Cloud, there's a concept called a student view or student timeline. So those are some of the things that what they've done with Education Cloud, taking those elements that works in other industries that applies to higher ed, and it's part of the core industry now. So I'm very excited they're seeing that. And to me, in my eyes, again, being in software for 20 plus years, it feels like that higher ed is legitimately a first-class citizen within the Salesforce tech ecosystems, which is very encouraging. All right. And the other thing that we're utilizing, and we'll get into details with this next, is Data Cloud. And I'll go into what we've done with Data Cloud and what we're looking to do here. At a high level, the exciting thing about Data Cloud is it's your opportunity to take all of your data, no matter what system it is. It doesn't have to be Salesforce. It can be other systems, as you'll see soon. And you can roll all that data up into one location so that your CRM has access to that application, to that data, and any other application that you want as well can have access to all the same data. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. And then just as a side and a bonus here, I want to mention that we are using marketing cloud. So all the power behind the Salesforce provides about contacting different students and reaching out. We're leveraging that in marketing cloud. So I won't touch on that today, but today's focus will be education cloud and data cloud. Okay. All right. This is the 1,000-foot view of the ecosystem, that we have. So if you notice education cloud in the middle, that's where our CRM is. And if you look over to the right, we're connecting our learning management system, our student information system, our registration system on the executive education side. All those different systems where they have their own sets of data. We're able to use a product called Snowflake to bundle all that data up and then share that with Data Cloud. So we're using Snowflake as a pass-through to get to Data Cloud. And then what we mentioned before is, all the family of institution campuses, all those satellite campuses around the state. At the bottom, all those data sources are all shared. And so now we have the ability to take every single data source and then combine them into one. And we'll talk a little bit about why that's important and what we get out of that. But I just wanted to give you a view is that there's a complex environment that's going on behind the scenes, and we're able to tie that together and make it more easy to gather data, gain insights, where before there was a lot of manual intervention as far as grabbing data from one system to the other, and then somebody manually piecing that data together. And that's a recipe that really doesn't scale well. Okay. So we'll talk a little bit about Data Cloud. As far as data, there's two buckets of data, two main buckets of data you want to think about when you're looking at Data Cloud. One is who you are as an individual. So think from a student perspective, the individual, and then also their activity or their engagement. What is that student doing throughout your system? So those are the two buckets of data that Data Cloud likes to focus on. When we go into the data aspect of it, so if you're someone in your organization that is concerned with the hardcore technical aspects of data management, when we talked about connecting your data, right? So getting data from other systems over to Data Cloud, there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. You can physically copy data from one system to the next, or you can take advantage of what's called a zero copy concept, to where the data stays in the system, but zero copy is like you creating a window from Data Cloud to peek into the other system where the data still lives there, but you have access to that particular data. So it lives there, but you can still access that data without copying that data over. And there's reasons why you would do one over the other. When we're talking about harmonizing data, all of you know that your learners, whoever is using your system, is not just the data that you have in Salesforce, right? They're not just the data that's in the LMS or the data that's in a registration system or what have you. They're a combination of all those things. And so with Data Cloud, for us, it's been really nice to be able to look at all of our the LMS data that we care about, and coupled with the Salesforce data that we care about, combine all those things together and look at them in one location. The other cool thing about that is that we can build a view, a harmonized view of what a student looks like one time. And everyone can take advantage of that particular view. And then other systems as well can take advantage of that view as well. We don't have to recreate that every single time. The other aspect of it, from an identity resolution standpoint, most of you on this call have more than one email address, right? You have your Gmail account, your university account. There's a burner account that you have when you're trolling folks online on social media. I know exactly what you're doing. But you as a person, you are the same person. Even though you have multiple email addresses, you're the same person. And students will interact with your system in multiple ways, right? It'd be nice if we can get everyone to just interact with our systems the same way, but that's not really practical, right? So when a student comes in our system and they say, hey, I'm interested in computer science, and they use their Gmail account to do that, and then they turn back around and say, well, you know what, I'm kind of interested in marketing as well, and they use another email account for that. With Data Cloud, we're able to unify those particular records, so we can tell that even though Brian has 5 different email addresses, it's the same human on the other end. And the great thing about that is that the Data Cloud will generate a unique identifier for that one person, even though they have multiple email addresses. And now I can take that ID and link that to all the other data elements around in the system, so it all behaves as one. So super excited about that. And then finally, on the marketing side, the business side, again, it's a great way for you to gain insight to what's happening, again, not just in your CRM, but in other aspects as well. And you can also take action on data elements that are happening outside your CRM. So for instance, if in Salesforce, you wanted to get communication out to, let's say, high-risk students, you have some type of logic in your system where you're indicating where someone is high risk from dropping out of the university. Maybe the data, all of the data elements that you need to key on, maybe they're not in Salesforce. Maybe some of it is in your LMS. Maybe some of it is in another system. It doesn't matter, because you can have access to real-time changes in those data, and you can still act on it in Salesforce, which is really cool. Okay. All right. So Data Cloud, Education Cloud, all the crazy tech. So what is this? What does this mean for us? So we always like to talk about being able to tell the story of our learners. And so now we're able to effectively do that. Again, before it was a lot of piecemeal from different systems, but now it's a lot easier to do that because we have everything rolled up into one platform. For our power users out there, these are users that they're not necessarily technical, maybe don't have a technical background, but they know a lot more than the average users. I like to say they know enough to be dangerous. They know their data most of the time better than anybody else in the system. And with Data Cloud, there's an aspect of being able to use natural language processing to get the data that you need. So what that means is, think of a ChatGPT type experience where your power users can go in and say, hey, give me all of the students that passed this particular course last summer that also live in California, for instance. And then having Data Cloud actually build that visual out for you. So we're excited to take advantage of that. So that self-service aspect of things is very key for us. We have a tech team that does a lot of building, and those teams get busy very quickly. I would rather those teams focus on doing the things that only they can do, writing code, extending the systems, building capabilities we never had before, but also giving the power users the ability to move forward with getting some of the visualizations that they need, getting the analytics that they need without depending on IT to do that for them. So very excited to provide that ability to our power users. Okay. So some of the lessons that we learned from Data Cloud. Again, everything that I showed you, what I don't want you to take away that, hey, what Brian is saying is this is exactly what you need to do in your org. What I'm saying that this is what we're doing, right? And so everybody's situation is different. And so we'll talk about that in a second, but there are things that you can do to make sure that you're setting things up specifically for your particular org. So one of the first things here is with Data Cloud, I want to make sure that you all understand how you're charged. And actually, I'll start with the one on the middle. So knowing your spend. There's a couple of different ways that Data Cloud charges you, right? So Salesforce wants to provide you a service, but they also want to get paid at the same time too, right? You're charged based on the data that you are storing, right? So you're charged on storage, and you're also charged on what's called compute or processing power. So the more you can offload, in our cases, we found that the more we can offload processing outside of Data Cloud, it's better for us. We can save a lot of money, for that. For our particular strategy, we're doing a lot of zero copy strategy here. We have terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of data. And so we don't want to be charged in the system that it's in now, and then also in Data Cloud. So for us, we spend, we take that churn and we put that on the Snowflake side, for instance, and then we're doing a zero copy into that data, which is a lot more cost effective for us. So those are some things, again, just to keep in mind. Again, everybody's situation is different, but just something to keep in mind. If you go with Data Cloud, talk to your Salesforce rep. There's something called digital wallet that you can get. It's basically an add-on to your Data Cloud license, where digital wallet allows you to see real time how your money is being spent, what charges that you're incurring. And so the last thing that I'll encourage everyone to do is, just experiment. Data Cloud is a relatively new concept, although the concept of data warehousing isn't new. It is 100 years old, probably. But Data Cloud is new. And so as it is evolving, Salesforce is going to find more efficient ways, cheaper ways, better ways to do different things. And again, don't be afraid to go out there and try. If you're curious about how much something is going to spend in your org, my best advice is to try it out. Access digital wallet so you can see for yourself what that looks like. And there are things that once you go live, there are things that you will learn from decisions that you made that, maybe we need to change a little bit and shift gears, and that's okay. It's an experiment. You'll eventually find that sweet spot that works well for you. But again, it's a brand new product. It will keep getting better and better, and you will keep getting better and better as you go out there and you try things and your users run it through its paces, right? So our users always do a great job of surprising us in use cases that we never thought of before. All right. I'm not sure if we have enough time for questions yet, but Brenda, I'll let you put that on. Yeah.
Hopefully you can hear me now. Did we get it all worked out?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Well, thank you, Brian. Great job. And I love everything you shared. There were a few questions in there that maybe you'll be able to connect at some point with those people. Definitely great questions. And I'm really hoping we will see you speak again, maybe at Ed Summit or something, since you're going live. Perhaps we'll be able to have more time to learn how it's going and get some additional information from you. So thank you so much for sharing.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Well, everyone, you can head to the next session. And like I said, Brian's probably happy to answer a few questions as time goes on. Maybe leave him alone for a couple weeks as he's going live. But after that, I'm sure he'll share more. Thanks, everyone.